What's up, guys? It's Ivan, and today I wanted to share with you a successful statement of purpose for the Genetics, Genomics, and Development graduate program at Cornell University. If you are interested in receiving weekly mentorship from me so you can perfect your statement of purpose and other graduate school components, I'm going to have a link in the description down below where you can place your name on an interest form. That way I'm able to reach you when I launch the Grad School Academy, which is the program where I will guide you through every step of the graduate school application process, including the statement of purpose. As a first-generation Latina, I was not always sure if there was a place for me in academia. The lack of representation coupled with my lower academic performance as I try to balance working part-time jobs and some supporting blank as he struggled with severe substance abuse furthered my feelings of not belonging. It was not until I took a leap of faith and conducted research for the first time under the guidance of Dr. Samir Beyaz that I realized my personal life hardships bred two of the most important characteristics needed to succeed in academia: resilience and tenacity. As I have continued to pursue research full-time over the past year and a half under the guidance of Dr. David Matus and the mentorship of two fellow minority students, I am firm in my belief that I not only belong in academia but will succeed. I would be honored to further my research training at Cornell University as a contributing member of the Genetics, Genomics, and Development graduate program as the next step toward my ultimate goal of attaining a tenure-track faculty position in developmental biology. Alright, so in the introductory paragraph, the writer does a couple of things that I think every writer applying to grad school should be doing. So the first thing I want to point out is that the applicant wrote in the latter part of their introduction the program they are applying to. So as a reader, I know that this person's applying to Cornell University in their Genetics, Genomics, and Development graduate program, and they want to specifically in that program. And so one mistake that I often see people not include in their introductory paragraph for their statement of purpose is they don't mention which program they're applying to. The second thing that I need you all to make sure you include in your introductory paragraph is your career goal. So the applicant is telling the reader that they want to pursue a tenure-track faculty position in developmental biology, and they write that as the last sentence in their introductory paragraph. So those are two elements that I want you to include in your introduction to your statement of purpose for graduate school. Something else that this applicant does really well in their statement of purpose is that they mention a little bit about their personal background. So we know as a reader that this person is first generation, they identify as Latina, and they talk about some of their struggles pursuing an academic career in STEM. And so we learn a little bit about their background. So we learn a little bit about how they support a person in their family, I'm assuming, or someone that they care for who is struggling with substance abuse. And then we also learned that they struggled academically as they try to pursue this career in STEM. So in a few sentences, this applicant is telling us a lot about their background without fully fleshing out their whole entire life story. And they also mention that they are interested in pursuing a research career. They mention two mentors that they worked with that have allowed them to want to pursue, or that have motivated them and inspired them to pursue this STEM research faculty position. And so what I want you to do as an applicant, I want you to think about your background and infuse that into your statement of purpose. That doesn't mean you have to dedicate an entire page or even an entire paragraph to describing your personal background. It can be as simple as just writing 1 to 2 sentences that give an idea to the reader of who you are and why you're pursuing this degree, but also the career choice that you want to pursue after you graduate. Something else that I need you to do when you're writing your statement of purpose for graduate school is I need you to establish your theme. So early on, I know as a reader that this person's going to talk about their research experience journey. They right off the bat mentioned 2 mentors that they had where they conducted research, and as a reader, I'm expecting them to go further into detail about their research experience. After taking a full course load over the summer leading up to my senior year of college at Stony Brook University, I became captivated by cancer biology. As I delved further into the multi-pronged subject of cancer development, I discovered discovered a video recording of Dr. Samir Beyaz's speech at the Colon Cancer Foundation where he discussed the link between diet and cancer, and more specifically how high-fat diet induced intestinal carcinoma in mice. I was inspired by his work. This led me to contact Dr. Beyaz at Cold Spring Harbor Laboratory for an opportunity to conduct bench research. Under Dr. Beyaz's guidance, I learned laboratory techniques, including intestinal crypt cell isolation and RNA isolation. Dr. Beyaz was the first person to discuss with me what getting a PhD would entail, and he also assured me that my grades were not indicative of my potential to conduct research. This experience left me with the love for research and increased my confidence in my ability to overcome obstacles. So in this next paragraph, the reader describes to us how they met Dr. Beyaz, and how that led them to conduct research under that mentorship. And so when this applicant describes this experience, they go into detail. We learn exactly how this person became interested in this professor's work, and that was through a video. And when they described that video that they watched, they made sure they described it in detail of what exactly they watched that related to their interests. And so I want you to do something similar in your statement of purpose. Eager to learn more about the scientific method, I embraced the opportunity to enroll in a course undergraduate research experience in developmental genetics. This experience introduced me to the course director, Dr. David Matus, who subsequently recruited me to join his laboratory. Dr. Matus studies cellular behaviors and C. elegans, such as invasion and migration, which are critical to reproductive development, and develops genetic tools to explore how these events are controlled. I worked together with Dr. Matus during the COVID-19 quarantine to apply for an NIH diversity supplement, which would provide support for me to work in his lab as a full-time post-baccalaureate researcher. Assisting Dr. Matus with the grant writing process allowed me to gain insights into the hard work that goes into successful grantmanship firsthand as I work to conceptualize my research proposal on identifying chromatin modifiers that regulate invasive differentiation. Receiving the news that I had been awarded the diversity supplement was thrilling and furthered my motivation to bring my proposed research plan to fruition. I began my work in the Matus lab virtually, creating instructional videos to guide students and faculty on techniques to actually quantify fluorescence. I also generated figures to demonstrate the workflow of RNA interface in C. elegans. My combined effort culminated in my first oral presentation at the 2020 Developmental Biology of New York conference, where I discussed the importance of cures in the context of advancing science, especially for minority students who may lack equal access to research opportunities. This experience allowed me to familiarize myself with scientific language and gain the ability to present in front of large audiences. Additionally, my hard work resulted in a co-authorship on my first peer-reviewed publication available on this journal and in press at Course Source. The applicant described one of their research experiences. So they describe in detail how they were part of this program called the Course Undergraduate Research Experience in Developmental Genetics, and that's how they met Dr. David Matus, who was able to guide that person, this applicant, with their research project. The applicant also mentions that they were able to learn about grant writing and attaining grants for research and how they developed this skill set through this mentorship. Then they talk about how they implemented or how they conducted their research because they received this grant, and how that grant led for them to write a co-authored publication on their research, but also present their findings at a research conference. And so what this applicant here is doing is they're telling the reader how they conducted their research, what their topic was about, and they took a step further and they explained how they're able to successfully attain research grants, but also present at research conferences, and also how to publish their research. All these skill sets are important when you're a graduate student, especially a PhD student, because you're going to be expected to conduct your own research studies, publish your studies, and also present at conferences. So it's telling the faculty members who are on the committee, the admissions committee, that this person is preparing and is already ready to be a graduate student, but also a potential faculty member. As I followed my first project to completion, I became enthralled with the ease of genetic manipulation that comes with working with C. elegans. To enhance my understanding of foundational concepts and techniques, I enrolled in a graduate biology course. Succeeding in this course assured me that I could handle the rigor of graduate academics and made me even more excited to work in a laboratory where I could apply the knowledge I gained. So in this short paragraph, the applicant further begins to tell the reader what they did with their knowledge of research. It inspired them to actually take a graduate course as an undergraduate student. And in this course, it helped them develop a sense of confidence that they're ready for graduate studies. As COVID restrictions faced employees back, I was able to join the lab in person. In my first lab experience, I assisted fifth-year PhD student Jason Smith with conducting a large-scale RNAi screen of chromatin remodeler to determine the role in anchor cell invasion. This screen earned me co-authorship on this publication preprint, currently in review at PLOS Genetics. One of the screen hits revealed was this, which I chose to follow up on due to the high penetrance of AC invasion defect. After reading the literature on this topic, I wanted to investigate in its interaction with this topic, as this was proposed to be its co-activator. To accomplish this task, I examined a fluorophore tagged allele of Indonesian Lin-12 treated with this. Ultimately, I was able to conclude that this was not required for notch activation in the AC. Although my initial hypothesis was not supported, conducting these experiments taught me the patience and work ethic needed to work through and characterize complex genetic interactions. In the next paragraph, the reader describes their research in more detailed jargon. As you can tell, I'm not a STEM major, and so it was really difficult for me to actually read this jargon. And usually I tell applicants not to be this specific, but you can if you are in the STEM field, because the review committee is going to understand what you're saying. You know, as someone who's not in the STEM field, I really don't have that much of an idea of what they're saying here, but I know that they are using the technicality, the language, to showcase their aptitude and to showcase their knowledge in their field. So I suggest that you do something similar when you're describing your research projects. Something that I have noticed so far in all the paragraphs that we have read is that the applicant, the concluding sentence, always describe what they learned within that experience that relates to graduate education. So I really like that, because they're explaining to the committee, even though my hypothesis was incorrect, here's what I learned from the experience, instead of just showcasing all the great experiments they have done that have been successful. So they're showing that they had some challenges with their research, but that doesn't stop them from conducting this work. Next, I was eager to gain experience working on questions related to the cell cycle. Mentored by MD PhD student Michael Martinez and working in a team with postdoc Dr. Rebecca Atticus, we are characterizing the sex myoblast proliferation defect in a blank promoter deletion, first identified by Dr. Michael Stern during his postdoc in the Horvitz lab. Using a microinjections to genetically modify the C. elegans genome by CRISPR-Cas9, I first tagged the endogenous locus of CDK4 with the fluorophore. Using confocal microscopy, I found that the CDK4 mutant was completely devoid of CDK4 expression. I also discovered that the non-proliferative SM cells can long differentiate into uterine muscle, yet retain the ability to differentiate into vulval muscle. Recently, I cloned several psilocyclin CDK overexpression constructs, and I am currently testing whether the SM cell can proliferate in the absence of CDK4. I am largely responsible for this project, from designing experiments to performing them and interpreting the results. Working independently on aspects of this project gave me confidence in my intuition to make decisions when research poses complex questions. This research has also allowed me to present at conferences, including the International Worm Conference, where I gave my first poster presentation and received honorable mention. Further, this conference allowed me to meet Dr. June Kelly Liu as she attended my poster presentation. This was exciting as I read about her previous research using the SM cell lineage. I later reached out to schedule a virtual meeting with Dr. Liu, where she described her lab's current research. This interaction further solidified my desire to apply to Cornell, as Dr. Liu's research interests align largely with my own. So first, I want to say I apologize for the pronunciation of a lot of these science technical terms. Again, I'm not a scientist, so it's hard for me to pronounce some of these things here, right? But again, this applicant was very smart in terms of being specific and using jargon in their field, because they want the reader to know that they're able to communicate their research for people in the scientific community so they can understand that information, right? And they were detailed in terms of how they went about the development of their thoughts on their topic, the development of their research, and how the research at the end of the day ended up being produced. introduced, right? Towards the end of this paragraph, the applicant's making a connection to someone that they want to work with at Cornell. So they met Dr. Liu at a research conference, and Dr. Liu actually went to this person's poster presentation and gave them feedback. So they are making this connection because they want to work with this person, this faculty member at Cornell University. They took a step further and actually reached out to this professor and met with them virtually to learn more about their current research projects, which I suggest that you all do as you construct your application for graduate school, but also select people you want to work with, right? And so this connection really allowed this applicant to not only learn more about the faculty member's current research, but to also make that connection to potentially give them an advantage when they are applying to graduate school in this program. One of the lines I established while working on the cell cycle project introduced an auxin-inducible daragon or AID tag at the endogenous locus of CDK4. The AID system allows for targeted protein depletion in the presence of the plant F-box protein TIR1 and the phytohormone auxin. However, one drawback of the system was that in the absence of auxin, small to significant levels of protein were still degraded by TIR1. To solve this issue, I worked collaboratively with the Dr. Christopher Hamlo's lab from Cold Spring Harbor to improve specificity and sensitivity of TIR1 by utilizing a modified form of auxin paired with the point mutant of TIR1. By conducting timed auxin experiments, confocal imaging, and generating protein degradation curves, I was able to determine that use of the new auxin system did not result in leaky degradation. This work earned me co-authorship on my second peer-reviewed publication, available here and published at Genetics. So I really like this paragraph because it tells the reader that this person has identified some either challenges or gaps in their work, but they didn't stop there. They went further and conducted further experiments to be able to fill those gaps in knowledge. And so that's really what you do as a graduate student, and it's telling the reader how my thoughts are being developed based on my research that I've conducted, and here's how I'm trying to answer these unknown questions. And that's what you do as a PhD student and a scientist, as well as a researcher, as well as a potential tenure track faculty member. And so it's giving the faculty committee an idea of how this person is going to progress through their research and through publication, right? Because they talk about submitting a second publication as a co-author. As a member of the Matus Lab, I have matured significantly as a scientist and gained the experience to work independently. I am confident that the sum of my experiences will be a valuable addition to the Cornell Genetics, Genomics, and Developmental PhD program. My goal is to find an institution with leading and scientifically diverse faculty that embodies all the characteristics of excellent science. Given the opportunity to join this program, I would be thrilled to work with many Cornell faculty, but I am specifically excited by the prospect of working with Dr. Callie June Lee, Dr. Leslie Valdovinos, and Dr. Marco Samos Costa, as their research interest aligns closely with my own in mechanicalistically understanding cellular specification, differentiation, and the morphogenesis. Dr. Liu's lab utilizes the SM cell lineage to study mesodermal patterning and fate diversification, two topics that align closely with my current work. Working in the Liu lab would allow me to explore the gene regulatory pathways that are important to CSM cell fate specification and terminal differentiation. I was fortunate to meet and interact with Dr. Leslie Valdovinos on 2 occasions as she was a guest lecturer in the graduate developmental biology course and was recently a developmental seminar speaker where she shared her work on understanding gene and cell type novelty, a topic that tackles my interest in genetics from an evolutionary lens. Finally, Dr. Samos Costa utilizes the neural press to investigate molecular mechanisms that control cellular differentiation. Working with Dr. Samos Costa would allow me to tackle differentiation using a novel self-type with new approaches. I would greatly appreciate the opportunity to learn and grow as a researcher from the faculty at Cornell University. With the PhD from Genetics, Genomics, and Development graduate program, I will be well prepared to pose and investigate novel questions related to different developmental phenomena. So in the concluding paragraph, the reader describes why they want to join the Cornell University Genetics, Genomics, and Development graduate program. And so when you're writing this paragraph, I want you to name 2 to 3 faculty whose research closely aligns with yours. As you can tell here, this applicant mentioned 3 researchers, 3 faculty members who they want to work and be mentored by. And so beyond just naming the faculty, you have to describe how that person's research is going to help you with your own work. So as you can tell here, the applicant described each one of these researchers, each one of these faculty's work, and how their work is going to help them with creating either new knowledge or improving their current research, or maybe, researching a new topic. So I want you to do exactly that when you're writing your statement of purpose for graduate school. The purpose in this paragraph is for you to convince the committee that there are faculty members at that site that are going to be able to help you flourish as a researcher, as a tenure track professor, or whatever career track you're planning to pursue. You want to convince them that you're going to receive the proper training in your field because there's faculty members in the department who will be able to mentor you. If you enjoy this type of content, I have an entire playlist where I read and provide my commentary on successful statement of purpose for graduate school. The link for the playlist is in the description down below. Thank you for watching this video, and I will see you in the next video.